Welcome to Gettysburg National Military Park. Today we delve into the rich history of the Virginia Monument, the infamous Pickett's Charge, and the surrounding Seminary Ridge area, a landscape steeped in pivotal moments. Seminary Ridge derives its name from the Lutheran Theological Seminary. Established in 1832, this institution became a prominent feature west of Gettysburg and played a significant role during the Civil War. On July 1st, 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg commenced. Confederate forces advanced from the west, pushing Union troops through the town to the high ground south of Gettysburg, which is this high ground that you see along this line right here. Seminary Ridge became the Confederate Army's primary position for the remainder of the battle. On the third day of the battle, General Robert E. Lee ordered an assault aimed at the center of the Union line, which is straight ahead. You see that cups of trees? That's the furthest the Confederates got. And then you see that tree right there? That single tree? That's where the angle is, where the Confederates breached the Union lines, but were forced back. On Cemetery Ridge. This attack, known as Pickett's Charge, involved approximately 12,500 Confederate soldiers traversing nearly a mile of open fields under heavy Union artillery and rifle fire. The assault resulted in over 6,000 Confederate casualties, which is almost half of the whole amount of soldiers that made the assault. And is often considered the high water mark of the Confederacy. And this board right here goes into a little bit more detail. I thought my men were invincible. Confederate General Robert E. Lee gambled and lost. Pickett's charge on July 3rd, a decisive defeat, ended 3 days of fighting. Total casualties of 51,000 to 23,000 Union and 28,000 Confederate. Devastated both sides. Lee prepared for a Union attack on July 4th, but none came. Casualties were high, supplies and ammunition low, so Lee's army retreated back to Virginia. The rain fell in blinding sheets, matching the somber moon as the 17-mile wagon train of supplies and wounded, escorted by General Emboding's cavalry, pulled out. The rest of Lee's battered army trudged behind. No large-scale Union attack prevented the retreat, and on July 14th, the Confederate Army was on Virginia soil. The Gettysburg campaign was over, but the war continued on. In the early 20th century, efforts began to commemorate the soldiers of Virginia who fought at Gettysburg. The Virginia Monument was commissioned in 1908 and designed by sculptor Frederick William Savers. The monument features a bronze statue of General Robert E. Lee atop his horse Traveler, with 7 Confederate professional soldiers at the base, representing various professions. The monument was dedicated to June 8, 1917, and stands as the first Confederate State Monument at Gettysburg. Following the Civil War, Seminary Ridge continued to evolve. In 1913, the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg was commemorated with a reunion of Union and Confederate veterans. Over the years, preservation efforts have maintained the integrity of the battlefield. The Seminary Ridge Museum, located in the original seminary building, now offers insights into the battle and its aftermath. Today, visitors to Gettysburg can walk the grounds of Seminary Ridge, stand before the Virginia Monument, and reflect on the events that transpired here. The landscape remains a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made and the enduring legacy of the Civil War. July 3rd, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The storm of battle. At 1 p.m. on July 3rd, approximately 150 Confederate cannon opened fire on Cemetery Ridge, which again you can see in the distance there, 1 mile to your front. Federal artillery responded. This thunderous bombardment, a prelude to the Confederate assault known as Pickett's Charge, lasted nearly 2 hours and was heard miles away. At 3 p.m., Confederate General Robert T. Lee watched his battle line. Nearly 12,000 Confederate infantrymen step out across these open fields toward Union troops on Cemetery Ridge. Federal artillery and musketry pelted the advancing Southerners with lead and iron, killing and mangling hundreds, but they pressed forward into the storm of battle. A few hundred Confederates reached Cemetery Ridge, clashing in hand-to-hand combat. Within an hour, it was over. Nearly half of the 12,000 had fallen. Pickett's charge had failed. From near this spot, Confederate General James Longstreet gave the Confederate General George Pickett permission to begin the assault. An hour later, Lee and Longstreet rode out to meet the shattered command, returning to Seminary Ridge. And here's a map of Gettysburg. So we started at and these are the key locations. The group, Virginia Memorial, General Robert T. Lee, Mountain Traveler. The group represents various types who left civil occupations to join the Confederate Army. Left to right, a professional man, a mechanic, an artist, a boy, a businessman, a farmer, and a youth. Dedicated June 6, 1917. Sculptor F.W. Severs.